if I did like a draft of which cabinet members kiss Trump's ass the most, I think
the most obsequious cabinet members draft.
Okay. Yeah, I think she'd be a top 5.
Let's just do it. Let's do a draft. We'll do a top 5.
Let's do a draft.
The challenge was like, who could lick the Trump feet in the most ostentatious manner. Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. As mentioned yesterday, we are doing a joint live show, a big gay live show. Sarah Longwell, John Lovett, and me. And we're going to have some special guests that will probably also be gay. It is during World Pride in D.C., June 6th. It will be a fundraiser in support of the legal team that is doing the work on behalf of Andre Hernandez and a few of the other folks that have been disappeared to El Salvador. So it will be serious, but also fun and also gay. And you should come hang out. Yeah. I hate to send you to their website, but I think it's going to be easier. Just go to crooked.com/events. Ours had a bunch of other backslashes on there. So crooked.com/events. You won't get in trouble. Go over and get tickets there. Today's show. He's the host of Snapchat's Good Luck America. He's a partner at Puck News and host of the Daily Puck Pod, The Powers That Be. It's Peter Hamby. What's up, Hamby?
Hey, man. Congrats on the Nuggets.
Whew, boy. It's been...
You finally got some scoring spread out, and my guy, Christian Braun, showed up.
From Gonzaga. Ugh. It's been such a fun series, man. And I wish it was an 11-game series. It's been the distraction that I needed in my life. The Nuggets have had 7 Game 7s since COVID. So during this horrific era of Trump and COVID, when I needed distraction, there have been 7 series that have gone 7 games, which is not so great for my husband, but it's been wonderful for me to get me away from all of this nonsense we're about to be talking about. So we'll see how it goes on Sunday.
I even got Katie paying attention because the games are pretty exciting. Hey, also, Tim, congrats on the Bulwark Podcast being ranked number 34 on the YouTube podcast charts. You're below Just Trish and Nightcap. You're well below Megyn Kelly. You got some work to do there, but it's good to be 34.
Just Trish, I think, does some good stuff. Number 34, that's about where I finished in most of the presidential primaries that I worked on, 34th place. So that seems about right.
I was just going to say the college version of Tim would be happy about the fact that you're 20 places ahead of Democracy Now! So the code pink crowd, you are smoking their asses.
All right, 34 is pretty good, guys. Help us get ahead of Megyn Kelly. Text this show to your friends because we can do it. Top 34 is pretty good. That's all podcasts. It's not just news. So I'm out there in these streets competing with Pardon
Joe Budden versus Tim.
Yeah, all these folks. So we're doing pretty good. All right. While we're doing congratulations, you're on Bill Maher tonight with CNN's House heel Scott Jennings. And so we're going to do a little prep. That's why I asked you to come on today. I figured that we could go through some of the topics, run you through the paces so you're sharp tonight for the HBO audience. First topic I think may come up, I don't know, is the fact that the former FBI director, Jim Comey, posted kind of like a live, laugh, love themed Instagram post. Had kind of like a live, laugh, love energy. Was seashells on a beach walk, and it said 8647. If you haven't figured that out yet, and you're a listener, we assume it stands for 8647, as in get rid of 47, or we're done with 47. 47 being Donald Trump, the 47th president. We've had a very normal reaction from our government to that like kind of silly resistance post. Kash Patel sent out a tweet that the FBI is monitoring this, and they're giving the Secret Service all the necessary support they need. Trump said that Jim Comey called for his assassination and that he's a dirty cop. And here's Tulsi Gabbard.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do. Any other person with the position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
Jailed. We should be jailed for a cringe resistance post. Peter, what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, a lot of thoughts here. One, I'm glad 86 is now, everyone knows what 86 means, apparently. When I was growing up, my dad used to say 86 all the time because he had restaurant background. It's like a restaurant term, like kick someone out or like finish the dish or whatever. I guess it also has a military meaning. Like
was
you
your
kill
dad
someone.
calling for the assassination of the people that he?
No, he sure
86?
wasn't. He sure wasn't calling for that. And look, the Washington
hung out
Post.
with your dad, he's got a nice, like he wears a fedora. He's got a nice demeanor. He doesn't seem like the kind of person that, or it's not a fedora. What kind of hat is that? What do we call that hat your dad wears?
I don't know. He used to have these like Panama Jack hats. It's just like a cool hat. I don't know.
Anyway, he doesn't seem like a man calling for assassinations very often, but no, TBD.
No. So a few thoughts on what Tulsi Gabbard said. One, no one in the media and on the left likes James Comey. like she's pretending that he's some sort of left-wing hero.
He's got some fans. It's a niche group.
Some fans. He's in the Bulwark lane, I feel like. Very Bulwark.
Norms loving centrists like James Comey.
Okay, fine. He is not some sort of archangel out over on the left or among Democrats or whatever, though. No. The other thing is this, just 2 points to this. This falls into the category of stupid shit that people post on the internet. Like Comey probably shouldn't have posted it, but he also shouldn't worry about going to jail or being investigated. And then the Washington Post actually just today did a good roundup of all the times Donald Trump and Trump people have posted about political violence and threatening violence or winking at violence, and specifically using the term 86. Matt Gaetz used it one time in 2024. He said that his political allies had 86'd three party leaders in recent months. He was referring to McConnell stepping down. Jack Posobiec called at one point in 2022 to 86-46. That would be Joe Biden. None of these
Send him
people
to El Salvador.
None of these people were in jail.
Pizzagate Jack, straight to El Salvador. No jury, no trial. Or sending them straight to El Salvador. If AOC gets in 2029, you better watch out, Pizzagate Jack. You're gonna be in a hole.
The stupid shit here is people like Tulsi and Kristi Noem and Cash are like, they know the way to warm Mr. Trump's heart is to post about something like this. So like part of me, when we first talked about this yesterday, I was like, oh God, this is just like performative, stupid social media bullshit so they can salute dear leader. Nothing will come of it. I'm sure James Comey is going to get a knock on the door. I don't think he's going to El Salvador prison. One other thing, though, that like I've been thinking about a little bit lately, and you might disagree with this, is the press and Democrats kind of moved on pretty quickly from the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Like, I don't think a lot of people in the elite spaces and like the big blue affluent cities kind of appreciate how much that turned Trump into like this messianic figure with his people. And like there were 1.5 assassination attempts on Donald Trump during the campaign. So it's like James Comey's not going to do it. And no shooter is going to go listen to James Comey's little like Outer Banks seashell message to go shoot the president. But, you know, there is some like agreed.
Wasn't really a resistance guy for starters. And also, you know, Gerald Ford had a couple assassination attempts. You don't hear about that. You don't learn about that in school. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it. It was really bad. But it's just like, I don't know. What did you want the media to do? I mean, they did a whole convention night about it. That's his pictures on the side of
he kissed the firefighter's jacket.
Gave him a Tesla Cybertruck with his bloody picture on the side of it. I mean, I don't know. People talk about it. I just don't know what.
Because we're of a certain age, we should just reflect back on when Sarah Palin had her super PAC and she put crosshairs on people, on Democrats in vulnerable districts, and everyone in the Fox News world, everyone in the mainstream media, the lamestream media lost their minds over this. And it was stupid. It was just a dumb thing. She, by the way, almost won a defamation case against the New York Times for the Times saying in an editorial she was threatening political violence. But she lost that case. But you know, it's the internet is just fucking stupid, man. It's just fucking stupid. Maybe just don't post that
from a man of the internet. That's
you are too now.
We're gonna get more into the technology dystopia towards the end of the pod. I do want to do a little bit more Bill Maher prep for you though on this topic because our man Scott Jennings. I don't know if listeners know this. Scott Jennings was my colleague. Scott Jennings worked for Jeb. And I got to tell you, I didn't really love him then. We're just going to whisper that. And I do feel a little vindicated on that front.
I've known him since 2014. I did a big profile of McConnell during that re-election primary with Matt Bevin back then.
Yeah.
And
interesting character.
Scott and Holmes and I went to a minor league baseball game in Louisville. and now Scott's famous.
Okay, so dude, so he doesn't perceive that there's going to be tension tonight because he posted this picture of you and him and Bill Maher, and he said, "Common sense and free speech will be debated by us all." And to promote this, did he get your approval on that?
No, but I believe in common sense, Tim. I'm not
free speech. It'll be interesting to see if he does, though. So I'm wondering if this comes up. So I think as part of the prep today, I'm gonna pretend like I'm Scott Jennings. I'd like to hear your reaction tonight.
Let's do it.
Bill Maher asks him about what do you think about this James Comey post, and Scott Jennings is like, well, it's sad and pathetic that he's got TDS. Okay, James Comey has TDS. He's wandering around the beach looking at rocks. People don't want the bias from the FBI, okay? People don't want this bias, and the liberals have lost their mind. And I don't know if there's an actual crime here, but let's be honest. Depraved leftists have bloodlust for Donald Trump. It's unacceptable. These are sick people. It must be stopped. They're going to keep losing elections because they've gone insane, and I'm sad that James Comey has become one of them, okay? Okay, we can agree with that, okay?
Do you want me to respond to that?
Yeah. Peter, what do you think?
I mean, I'm going to say what I just told you, Tim. I'm sorry. Like, that's a good Scott Jennings impression, I guess. But like, it's
not that good.
There is some TDS out there in the world.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Tim.
While we're doing prep, because I used to be a media prep person, if that does come up, you might just consider raising, I don't know. Free speech does include cringe, live, laugh, love memes. It does. Free speech does include seashells that say 8647, and it's probably bad. I mean, if you're mad about free speech, and the thing that you're mad about is that like annoying liberals wag their finger at you when you say pussy or whatever, when you say something inappropriate, you get wagged the finger at, and you think that's a threat to free speech. You should also be pretty mad when the director of the FBI and the director of the National Intelligence says that we should jail somebody for a meme. I don't think that would be a very popular take if it was James Comey saying he was going to jail Pizzagate Jack Posobiec. I don't think that Scott would be for that. So that might be something to bring up. Just an
That's
idea.
a good point.
We're brainstorming. We're brainstorming.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're ideating, as we say in the tech world. Whiteboarding.
You're going to keep getting warmed up as this podcast goes along. By the time you get out there tonight, we're going to give you a cocktail. You're going to be nice and loose. All right, the Tulsi fight. The other thing I haven't got to this week, we played that Tulsi clip. There's another news item regarding her that I want to make sure folks are aware of. She fired the National Intelligence Council's top two officials. It's not random people. The top two officials of the National Intelligence Council over so-called politicization of intelligence. The firing of acting NIC chair Mike Collins and his deputy Maria Langen-Reichhoff comes after an intel report from the council last week contradicted the administration's assertion linking Venezuela's Maduro regime to the criminal gang Tren de Aragua. So the short of it, if people don't get this, was basically in order to justify the Alien Enemies Act, the administration said, we are being invaded by a foreign entity. Yeah. And as part of the support for that, they're like, the Venezuelan government is colluding with these gangsters to whatever, invade our country. That's obviously not true for anybody who just like reads a newswire story about what's happening in Venezuela. But the Intelligence Council, put it on a formal document that this is not true. And the people that wrote that fact have been fired. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I do. One is like, I would say Kristi Noem and Tulsi are two of the most sort of like they feel like they're genuflecting before Trump. I don't know if I did like a draft of which
I love drafts.
Cabinet members kiss Trump's ass the most. I think
the most obsequious cabinet members draft.
Okay. Yeah, I think she'd be a top five.
Let's just do it. Let's do a draft. We'll do a top five.
Let's do a draft.
Who's your first?
Do you want to do it like fantasy style where we go back and forth, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My number one is going to be Kristi Noem because she, there's obviously the El Salvador showmanship. She's running television ads, I think, that like come out of her own like leftover campaign committee money saying, thank you, President Trump, for all you're doing. Like, she knows that Trump will be watching Fox and see her doing a commercial. I live in Los Angeles. I do not care. And I celebrate it if people want to get enhancements, like Botox, fillers,
enhancements too. But
get a little an eye lift and neck lift. No one has more of a new face than Kristi Noem. And like hair extensions, and it's Suzanne Lambert, the TikTok influencer, sort of talked about this, but it's like the Mar-a-Lago face. Like she went from being the Midwestern mom with the Iowa haircut to being, Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach look, and tweets. We'll do anything for Mr. Trump. So she's my number one pick.
It's a good pick.
Let's do
Suzanne
top three.
Lambert, you don't know this, but it's a great promotion. Suzanne Lambert's on FY Pod, the Gen Z pod this week. So people go check that out. She's great.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I met her at the White House Correspondents thing. She's cool. She's a cool chick.
My pick is Howard Nutlick. Okay. I just don't think it's even actually close. I think it's the clear first choice. And I'm happy I got good value getting him at number 2. All right. Your pick is number 3, third pick.
Well, I guess if we're on that topic, does JD Vance count as a cabinet member?
Yeah.
It's got to be JD.
Yeah.
This is a canonical Bulwark take, but has anyone transformed themselves more than JD Vance in pure service of gaining power? All
right. 4th pick. So, man, Tulsi's out there.
She is out there.
Scott Bessent's out there. But I'm going to do a sleeper. I'm going to do a sleeper with my 4th pick. Brooke Rollins. She's the Secretary of Agriculture. She told people to farm their own chickens in support of Mr. Trump. That's a pretty big ask, and that's like a kind of a Soviet type request that people should, start farming to support the dear leader. They'll have a good harvest. You have a good egg harvest this fall, as long as you just do MAGA, get your MAGA chickens. So I'll take her for 4.
Okay, I'm going Scott Bessent next.
So Tulsi doesn't even get picked. This is how obsequious the thing is.
Yeah, wow, yeah, you're right. I'm invalidating my own take.
Yeah, 6 though. I think strong 6. I'm taking her 6. So I feel like my team's pretty good. Nutlick, Rollins, and Gabbard versus Bessent, Vance, and Noem. We'll ask people to vote in the comments who you think has the
who'd win a hoop it up tournament with that 3-on-3.
The challenge was who could lick the Trump feet in the most ostentatious manner.
Can I tell you 2 facts about Bessent, Tim, that I find interesting? I just like to spend a lot of time on Wikipedia. Beyond the fact that when the markets were going this way and that, Bessent was just saying, yeah, whatever, just knuckle through it, grind through it, and then later taking credit for some brilliant strategy. The tariff stuff is so stupid. He used to work, 1, for the Soros Fund. Oh, yeah. He was a partner at Soros. Okay, so that's one thing. 2, his full name is Scott Kenneth Homer Bessent. I don't know any Homers.
Homer?
In the year 2025. Simpson? Homer Simpson, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Homer Bessent.
Well, fuck. I think between Nutlick and Homer, we've got new names for the whole cabinet. That is great. Homer Bessent. That's a great
Homer Bessent, yeah.
Yeah. Another fun fact is that his hedge fund that he started lost money every year for the last 5 years. My hedge fund buddies that are listeners always want me to mention that.
I don't want to. I'm not going to.
Successful businessman, actually.
Let's slow down.
He did well.
Slow down.
And then
he's richer than both of us. He's a rich dude.
He's crushing me. But I think if he entered the podcast space, he'd probably be lower than 34th in the rankings. But he's crushing me in the investment space for sure.
This is a Scaramucci. You should get
Okay.
Scaramucci and Bill Cohan on this pod from Puck, my colleague, and just do a taxonomy of different MAGA hedge fund types. I think you'd have a lot of fun.
I'm not a big mooch man, but maybe we'll think about it. I do love Bill Cohan. It's the best guest you have on your pod. Back to the Tulsi firings, though. We got distracted. So she was an extreme. She's going overboard to please Mr. Trump.
Yes.
So that stipulated. But
stipulated.
It's pretty bad. Just the substance of the move is pretty alarming, right? That the 2 people inside the government could just put out an intelligence document that states what the facts are, and there can't.
Yeah, it reminds you a little bit of the Iraq War run up. Just you sideline pieces of analysis that don't comport with whatever narrative you want. But it's worse than that because this is after all of the reckoning between all the intelligence departments before the Iraq War. So theoretically, our intelligence community should move in harmony, and the what is it? The National Intelligence Council is part of the ODNI, and it's like the CBO. It is an independent scoring agency that does independent analysis, and this is tied to Stephen Miller and Habeas Corpus and Trenda Agua too. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know what I'm supposed to say on the Bulwark podcast about this. It's just obscene that the independent agency that's supposed to give independent sort of sanguine analysis about intelligence threats can say Tren de Agua is not being directed by the Maduro regime. And like, at the very least, we don't see them as like a terrorist threat. And you just shit can those people because it doesn't comport with what Mr. Trump wants. I have a whole nother spiel about like the whole like habeas corpus Stephen Miller thing. Like they're deporting people. Obviously, you've been very hot on this.
Let's hear it.
But the thing that really grates on me about like the idea of going around judges and suspending habeas corpus is like it's the claim that there's an invasion or a threat to public safety, and that judges are slowing down efforts to push back against said invasion and threats to public safety. Like what the Trump people are doing at the border is working. Like it is. Like the border apprehensions in March were 7,000. Like there were like 250,000 like border apprehensions when Biden was president. Like he told people to come here. Like it was bad. Democrats were bad in like talking about the border. And on top of that, like they'll probably deport 500,000 people this year. That's not like 1 million like Donald Trump promised. But just by using the tools at their disposal with law enforcement, by using these sort of, gross deterrent of that El Salvador prison, like these things are sort of working to keep immigration down. Obviously, like criminal aliens, as they say, exist in this country. They're less likely to commit violent crime and murders than any U.S. citizen. I think the Cato Institute did a study on this. There's not really great data, but they did a study in Texas, and they found that like a couple of years ago, there were 60 total like homicides committed by quote unquote illegal aliens. And it represented like 0.2% of like total homicides in the state of Texas over whichever time period they were measuring. Another note just on this, like going back to Kristi Noem, they talk a lot about fentanyl, like Pam Bondi's stupid thing. Like we've like stopped enough fentanyl to like prevent the killing of 200 million US citizens, as if 200 million US citizens are like buying Percocet and Xanax on like the internet and like taking pills. Like it's the dumbest math ever. Something called Molly. I think that's what she said in the press conference. But like Biden's efforts, Snapchat's efforts, by the way, are part of this. Like there's been a big public education campaign around fake pills, fentanyl, and deaths have gone down a lot in the last 4 years. It's still too high. Young men are getting killed at higher rates from this than other groups. But like it's gone down in every single state, fentanyl. And we have to give credit for Joe Biden to that. Like DHS tried to make Trump responsible for this, but because of something he said or did in like 2017. But like the last 4 years under Biden, fentanyl deaths have really gone down in every state, except for one, Tim. Do you want to know which state it is?
Alabama.
South Dakota. Kristi Noem, South Dakota.
Really?
Is the only state where fentanyl deaths were up last year.
Must
Before, while she was still governor. Look, it has a lot to do, I think, actually, with the native reservations there and the sort of drug problems they find. But like, still, like, she's the director of Homeland Security. Her home state is the only state while she was governor where fentanyl deaths were up. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Back to the intelligence. Back to Tren de Agua. Back to Stephen Miller. Like, they say the courts are slowing them down. Like, maybe the courts are stopping them from doing flagrantly unconstitutional things, but like their efforts. Like their like deterrent efforts are working to stop the flow of migrants into the United States, period.
Well, this is a fundamental conundrum that like nobody likes to hear because it relates to both Biden successes and what has happened, successes of the border with Trump so far in the first couple months here. And nobody likes to be like, hey, great job, everybody. That's very unpopular opinion on the internet. Yeah. But not only is fentanyl down, not only is illegal immigration down too much, actually, in my view, we should like technically a healthy America should have more than 7,000 intercessions at the border because there's a lot of jobs that undocumented migrants do that are very important for our economy, and this is going to become a problem for us in the medium term. But anyway, I'll set that aside. But what else is down? Crime. Violent crime is down. Violent crime was down a ton last year, and the Republicans tried to make that not a thing and say that the FBI was juicing the data. But like, no matter how you look at it, I was just talking to this guy who's a crime data expert here in New Orleans, And he's like, you look at like most of the major cities, not every major city, like you've seen violent crime down huge, particularly in New Orleans, but he was looking at other cities too. And like, that's just like reality. So like all of this stuff is down. And so the Trump administration wants to like take credit for that, even though 2/3 of it, 3/4 of it happened during Biden, but also say that we're in a crisis and an emergency that requires us suspending habeas corpus so that Stephen Miller can deport 19-year-olds who were brought here when they were 4 and haven't done anything, were falsely accused of not turning on their right turn signal, right? Like that is the juggle here. And they're able to do that because like in their little echo chamber, like that conflict doesn't break through. Maybe you can try to break it through with Scott Jennings tonight, like, which is like, we cannot be in a crisis and have things be going very well. Like those two things can't coexist, but they do coexist in the Fox ecosystem.
You're exactly right.
The khakis you got in your closet, the ones you only grab when you got to look nice, but immediately start counting down the hours so you can take them off. Whoever designed them clearly never had to sit through 3-hour meetings or go to their in-laws' backyard barbecues. So stop suffering for the sake of looking professional. You're probably not looking professional anyway, let's be honest. And upgrade to something that actually works as hard as you do. Den khakis by The Perfect Jean. They're the holy grail of pants, stretchy enough to bend down to fix the printer without fear of splitting a seam, or so comfortable you'll forget you're wearing work pants, and seriously stylish. Even your boss will be rethinking their wardrobe. Pair them with the Perfect Jeans polos for a look that nails professionalism without sacrificing an ounce of comfort, so you can look good. From the links to the team happy hour. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc. Or Google The Perfect Jean and use code BULWARK15 for 15% off. Longtime listeners know about my relationship with The Perfect Jean. It's kind of like the what was the old SNL joke about Oprah? She's skinny, she's fat, she's skinny, she's fat. You're changing all the time. The jeans are going, they're skinny, they're baggy. And it's hard for me. The baggy jeans become very challenging for me. And yet, because of the linear nature of time, as things go on, I start looking more and more at the 20-somethings in their big pants. And I'm like, it doesn't look as bad as I thought, does it? I'm still addicted to my skinny jeans, but every once in a while, maybe I'll try to give a Gen Z fit a try. And what's the worst case scenario? They just look like normal dad jeans, and I'm a dad. And I tried The Perfect Jean, and it's been nice. It's been a good change of pace. It was a little bit, it's a transition for me because I don't go for comfort in my jeans. I go for tight. But this has been a good transition. It's something you should look into too. The Perfect Jean doesn't stop there. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for the flawless look. It's finally time to stop sticking with those uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code BULWARK15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code BULWARK15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your old khakis and get The Perfect Jean. I want to talk about the Pope. JD is visiting the Pope. I guess today, tomorrow, Sunday, this weekend. The new Pope, Pope Leo, White Sox fan. Our listeners certainly know this. Posted this about JD Vance just a couple months ago. JD Vance is wrong. Period. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. This was a reaction to this like kind of pompous JD remark about Ordo Amoris and how there's an ordering, and Jesus teaches us to have an ordering of our love, and people closest to us we should love more, and immigrants, people from other countries, we don't like, we can love them, but like they're just not quite as important because of Ordo Amoris. And the new Pope was just like, no, not wrong, JD. And yet JD is unswayed. The Catholic convert is going to the Mass there in Vatican City. So I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
I mean, stepping back, I'd prefer that Trump and JD Vance don't spend their time attacking the Vatican and the new Pope. But, they did the old Pope. So it's annoying. I mean, I am pro new Pope, pro Leo. I I went to Georgetown. You went to GW. Like both of us grew up Catholic. I went to a Jesuit university, and despite
Jesuit
not going
high
to
school
church,
for me, I loved the Jesuits, but I had had enough of them after 4 years. And I walked
Totally
into
fine.
Georgetown and saw the little AMDG, kind of iconography around, and I was like, guys, I need a break for this. They probably also wouldn't have let me in, but that's for neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, you would have absolutely been waitlisted. I got in, so just want people to know that. You went to my safety school, GW. Just kidding. I will say, if the Jesuits would probably be one of the most progressive orders of
Maybe the
priesthood. I learned so much. We had to take a class called The Problem of God at Georgetown. It was a forced requirement, like a theology class. And look, the thing that annoys me about JD Vance is he's a smart guy, but he's smart in the way a podcaster is smart, like us. You kind of Google facts here and there and pretend you're an intellectual. I don't know if he has a coherent theological worldview. I just don't. I know he sort of tweets and posts about it, and he had a moody blog spot back in the day. But I would recommend Bulwark.
I mean, I don't nothing against converts. A lot of good converts out there. But he's also fake. In addition to all this, he's had 3 names. Kind of 4 names really. He's changed his name several. He changed his name in his mid-20s. He's had several different religions. He's had several different political ideologies. It's just it's hard to take it seriously. It's hard to take being lectured by somebody about Ordo and Morris seriously when they're on their 4th name and 2nd religion and 3rd political ideology.
So
in their early 40s.
The best takedown of the Ordo and Morris tweet that JD Vance put out in February actually comes from a Jesuit publication that I will admit, Tim, I actually subscribed at home to America Magazine.
Oh, wow.
While I lived in DC. It's sort of a, just Jesuit magazine, and they basically write about the world through, Catholic lens. This is kind of JVL territory maybe, but this guy, Stephen Pope, is a professor of theological ethics at Boston College. I don't know what IQ score JD Vance would bestow upon him. Seems like a pretty smart guy, but he wrote a very good takedown of the Ordo and Morris thing back in February. And it's basically what I agree with. The way JD Vance was talking about Ordo and Morris was that, it's zero sum. You can either love your family and your neighbors first to the exclusion of loving, a larger community or the suffering and the oppressed. And basically this guy, Stephen Pope, wrote a very good, thoughtful, not snarky DC kind of takedown of what JD Vance said. And he said, quote, "This amounts to little more than window dressing for a cramped, self-interested in-group morality that falls drastically short of the account of the order of love proposed by Aquinas and expanded by Catholic social teachings." The other thing he pointed out, which is really fucking obvious, is that Aquinas was not thinking about states and borders and immigration policy when he wrote that shit back in the 13th century. The state of Italy, where Thomas Aquinas is from, didn't even become a country until 1861, and so there are I don't know. It's just so stupid. Him cherry picking this stuff.
That's a good poll. I was like, is that right? And I just Googled it here like a podcaster, and you are correct. 13th century. That's true. I love the Jebbies, man. They're great. We had a sponsor. The Jesuit Refugee Services was a sponsor for a little while, supporting their refugee efforts, and so I encourage people to go support that if they're looking for something to donate to. We're just going to go through a bunch of other stuff here. Have you ever seen? You see that meme that goes around? It's not really a meme. It's a story. It's a woman who posted that her dad meets with his buddies at a bar in Wisconsin once a week.
Yeah.
They have an agenda, and she tweets out the agenda. We're going to kind of do that for the rest of the podcast because I have an agenda of other topics with you. I want to just tick through. The reconciliation is the first one. Big beautiful bill. Mm-hmm. Things aren't looking that great. I mean, I still, my prior is still that eventually they'll figure out how to squeeze it through, just because it would be so. Yeah. I mean, it'd be unbelievable for them to not be able to pass a single thing, and that Trump's only priority doesn't get through, and then the Trump tax cuts expire. It's just really hard to imagine that scenario coming to pass. And yet, they're supposed to be doing the first step in this process today, without getting into too much Hill jargon. But Chip Roy has been saying he's against it because there's too much debt. Ralph Norman just came on right before we came out and said he's a no. He's a weird guy that was like pro-insurrection, but then supported Nikki Haley in the primary. So he's an interesting character. You can get into Ralph Norman if you want. But then there's the other side of the group, which is kind of the California, New York, New Jersey Republicans who are upset about the SALT deduction. I did a big rant about that on the Next Level this week. They're against it because, it is.
Are you pro-SALT or anti-SALT?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about SALT, which is the appropriate position about SALT. And my rant was like, I just can't imagine that Mike Lawler is going to be sitting in his rocking chair in his 80s looking and having his grandkid come by and say, you know what Papa really fought for? Back in the Trump years, the one thing that I really fought for, the state and local tax deduction. That's the thing. That's the thing that was really the deal breaker for me. Anyway,
I'm pro SALT deduction out here in California.
I'm sure
I get
you
that,
are.
though.
I'm down here in Louisiana with my low taxes. I don't give a fuck if you guys get to deduct it. I also just I don't care about the SALT deduction. And I think the appropriate position for people to have about the SALT deduction is not caring. So there's a group of people that are basically preventing. They have a very narrow majority and they can't get it through. So you got some colleagues at Puck who follow this kind of more closely than us. What's your take on the state of affairs?
Yeah, no, I mean, 2-seat majority in the House. Mike Johnson, the speaker, obviously tries to project confidence about getting this through. But yeah, I mean, my colleagues, Abby Livingston and Leanne Caldwell at Puck are great. Please follow them. But they've informed my thinking on this. But there's also the fact that we've been through these things before. And I think you're right to say they'll probably get something done. Like I went back and looked at, and this is the reason like they have to get something done this year, I think, is that narrow majority. If you go back and look at the Inflation Reduction Act, what was that? Was that Build Back Better? Well, It was originally something else.
Yeah, Build Back Better.
Yes. It took, I think they introduced it in like summer 2021 and Biden didn't sign that thing till November of 2022. Like it took like 14, 15 months. And like part of that was the mansion sort of stuff. Like these things take
They also were doing other
forever.
stuff simultaneously. In fairness, it's a little different than this. Yeah. They're doing infrastructure and the gun bill and stuff. And
yes.
these guys
And by the way, those things were passed with a few Republican votes too. Like bipartisan. This will not be bipartisan. You also, get to the Senate and Jake and Anna at Punch Bowl were smart on this the other day. Like as much confidence as Mike Johnson is projecting, it's like, we're going to get this done and the Senate's going to do it. Like Jay Sherman on his podcast was like, no, they're fucking not. Like it's the Senate. Like Ron Johnson the other day was like, we're not going to pass this bill. They've got their own rules. They got the Byrd rule. There are no SALT deduction Republicans in the Senate, by the way. So like if they do put SALT in the House bill, it might die in the Senate. And it's just going to take a long time to reconcile these two bills. But like right now, like Mike Johnson still has to get it through budget, get it through rules, get it passed on a floor vote. And you've got people like Ralph Norman, like saying, no, we're good. Like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to get done before next week, which is what they want, right? They want this done before Memorial Day. I mean, maybe something will get done, but I do eventually think there will be some bill that gets through. I just don't know if it's going to have all the goodies that everyone wants, but that's how the sausage gets made.
Yeah. It's uglier than I thought. Do you agree with that? It's like a little bit.
Yes. Well, so Abby,
it's the only thing.
Yeah.
My prior is always like, these guys can't do anything. They're a clusterfuck. And yet they have to do one thing. It's extending the Trump tax cuts. And like people will just get on board.
Abby,
and so it's been kind of surprising how many have been like, no, actually.
No. Yeah. My colleague, Abby Livingston said, we did a podcast about this for my podcast a few weeks ago. And she's written about this. Like we all kind of think that Mike Johnson is like notionally a good speaker because he was the choice after they cycled through all the McCarthy drama, right? Like he's been speaker for like 18 months. You're like, oh, wow, he's surviving. But she was pointing out that there are some voices and not just the Ralph Normans and the, Chip Roys in the House who like don't see him as like a super capable leader. Like he basically, and I might be butchering Abby's words here, but he defers everything to these committees and then kind of waits till the last minute, rides the lightning. Hopefully Donald Trump makes some phone calls. He does the whipping. Like he's the one who's going to call and strong arm people to vote for the bill, and Trump will. And then, maybe it'll skate through and Mike Johnson will get credit, but he's not like no one thinks Kevin McCarthy was like the president of Mensa and like some brilliant policy mind, but like, you know, Paul Ryan and Boehner would be like either in there muscling through like and whipping votes or like tweaking policy and like being on the phone with members of the Senate at the same time and the White House if they had
Mike
it.
Johnson's
and
just
like
trying
no
to
one
survive in here. He's just trying to keep everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just trying to survive.
Pop, what did you do when we were sending people to the concentration camps in El Salvador? I laid down the line on the salt deduction. Little Oakley.
If you're a Lawler, by the way, on this topic.
Oakley, I stood up to Trump. I know you're reading about him in school and how he tried an insurrection and put people in concentration camps. But what I did was I said, no, sir.
Did Mike Lawler name his
your tax cuts unless it includes a state and local tax deduction for upper middle class earners in New Jersey or New York or California? Their concerns are so important.
In your imagination, is Mike Lawler's hypothetical grandchild named after Charles Oakley?
No, it's like Oakley, Oakleigh. Very popular name down here in the South now.
That sounds like one of those like Utah Mormon names.
Yeah, no, not like Charles Oakley. That'd be pretty cool, though. That'd be pretty cool, though. Jaden. Don't you worry. Your pop stood strong for that salt deduction. It's the only thing I cared about. I wore a little pin.
So there's a list
on it.
There's a list actually that went viral the other day of the most Republican and Democratic
names.
children's
Oakley
names.
Was on the
Did you see this
Republican list? I did. That's where I got Oakley
yeah.
from. Yeah.
Oh, got it. I got you. Yeah, like Cohen with a K is a very popular boy name for a baby. Kohen. Baylor. Stetson. Great SEC quarterback name, as we know. Kyson, Kyson. Trip, which is great Southern name because you could do it in 2 syllables like Parker Posey. Trip, come over here. Come and get your dinner, Trip. Sutton, same name. Briggs.
Sutton was one of my attorneys for a while.
If you name your kid Briggs, he is not graduated from college. Cohen. Gunner, you hear a lot. Gunner's like a vintage like Utah name. And then Baker.
Cohen is going to be so proud of Pop for standing up for that.
Oh, yeah. Oakley is number 3 on the girl names for Republicans.
Make sure you get that deduction in. That's the thing to fight for if you get into public service. Okay, I want to talk about the Democrats. You did a story this week about a poll about the Democrats, and people don't like them very much. I don't know. Part of me, okay, I'm going to be. Let me give you the contrarian view here, because the on the face view, which you wrote about, which we'll hear from, is that like, boy, the Democrats are fucking unpopular. This is insane how unpopular they are. They're way more unpopular than Trump, and that's bad. How can you be more unpopular than Trump? And there's certainly something to be said for that. But part of the reason in our polarized age that you start to get bad numbers is when people that like are already for you are saying they don't like you. Right, like it's when people like that's how W's numbers started to get bad. It's like when Republicans started to be like, "Fuck you, I don't like this." Right, and so the Democrats, I feel like it's their numbers are bad, but the problem feels kind of fixable because there's like a low hanging fruit group of people out there who want to like them. They're just not being given anything to like. What do you make of that counterpoint, or do you think it's just a total disaster and they need major changes?
Oh, I think it's the latter. I mean, maybe it's because I live in the universe of like thinking a lot about like Gen Z and younger voters. I know you do too. Yeah. You've got your pod with Cameron. That generation thinks both parties are terrible. Even the young men who voted for Trump, like I wouldn't say they moved right. I would say they moved away from the Democratic Party and toward Trump. But right now, they've also left Donald Trump because they don't think he's doing any of the right things on the economy. Man, it's like I've been to like high info, that's the word, like MSNBC, Pod Save America listening audiences. Like I went to a Ro Khanna event, one of those things he did out here in California in a Republican district when the Doge stuff was happening, right? The kind of people who protested Tesla dealerships. Yeah. And like people lined up to scream at him and he did a good job, bro, but it was kind of just like public therapy. And there's that. There's also the problem
I guess that's
that,
my point. I think there's some underlying issues that are greater, but just really quick on that group, that type of person you're talking about. This is my point. Like those people are going to come around. Like they're venting. They've just lost to Trump again the second time. They're fucking pissed. They think the Democrats are pussies, but eventually they're coming. Like there's no really underlying weakness there. There are some other groups that there's some real underlying issues with, I think. I guess that was my point.
So there are people. Katie's a good example. Not like Katie is a Democrat, and like we have lots of friends out here in blue Los Angeles who are Democrats, who are college educated people who, after the last election, by the way, they were exhausted by the first Trump term, lived through Biden, weren't in love with Biden, but glad he was there. And then after this last election, aren't tuning out completely. They're not like these academics fleeing to Canada, but they're just like not paying that close attention. Yeah.
Fuck you if you're a fucking university professor and you're going to Canada. Okay. If you have serious concerns, if your wife or husband or kid are not full citizens or a student visa or something, you need to flee, fine. If you love Toronto and you want to go there, great. Toronto seems great to me. But if you're going to go there because you're scared of Donald Trump and you're a US citizen who works at Yale, please. There are a lot of please. And you're going to go to the New York Times and talk about how please. There are a lot of people out there who have real fears, not U.S. citizens who work for Yale and have teams of lawyers that would help them.
Yeah, Ben Rhodes had a great post about this on Wednesday. You don't have to be an expert to know that we need people to stay in this country to oppose fascism instead of writing op-eds about leaving it. Ben, by the way, is like a good voice of moral clarity. I feel like I know some people. You do. He's good. On the topics that you care about a lot. So anyway, not like you have the people who graduated college who vote in every Democratic election, probably more like the former camp we just talked about, but they're not paying attention right now. They're kind of apathetic. They don't care. They don't like the party. I do think those people will come around, but they need someone to grab them and get them to care. And maybe that doesn't happen until 2027 when the primaries start and you've got new leaders shaping new messages. And then you've got the sort of subgroups that Donald Trump did well with last year. And by the way, not doing well with them now, but you have the young men, you have, some black men, Latino men, in Georgia, Kamala only won Latinos total by 12 points, right? There are different subgroups, and they are the I know Rob Flaherty called them the kind of opt-out voter, in that New York Times op-ed a few weeks ago. I mean, they think Democrats are just, you use the P word, total pussies. We did a word cloud with Echelon for this piece I wrote this week that you mentioned. Let me pull it up. And it's it's so bad. We asked all likely voters, Puck and Echelon Insights, just to say the first word that comes to mind when you think of the Democratic Party. The top answers, Tim, were liberal, weak, corrupt, and liars. Okay, those are all voters. So that includes the independents that Democrats probably need to pull back. It includes them too, yes. But then you go to the word cloud of just Democrats, and the first word that comes to mind when Democrats think of the Democratic Party. So we're asking Dem and Dem leaners what they think. Weak, fair, liberal, good. But then you also have ineffective, disorganized, and then there's other sort of hippy-dippy things like equality, hopeful, democracy, caring. But you also, some words pop up in here, and it's spineless, passive, confused. These are big words that Democrats are saying. By the way, this is one little example. I don't know what do you think they would have said in, 2014 about the Democrats? It probably would have been better, but I'm trying to imagine what would be different, because you get a lot of the base people in there saying Democrats are weak. But I was interested to hear Democrats call themselves liberal. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. I think the party is grappling with the fact that they are perceived as too far to the left. That's a real thing. That's why Gavin Newsom is sort of nakedly pivoting to the right or to the middle, depending on your perspective.
I want to get to the Gavin thing because you've been covering this very closely, but just really quick on Biden, since it's wrapped up in all this, I I don't even want to talk about Joe Biden anymore. It makes me so upset. And I've said everything. Everyone who listens to this knows what I think about Biden. But we have a good article today from Steve Shaley, who's a Florida guy from Duval County, who was with Biden back in 2016. Loves Biden, likes the Biden political project, likes him personally, is Biden-y in his temperament and ideology across the board. This is not, it's not an inner circle person who hung out with Biden at his beach house, but it's also not just like some hired hand. Like it's somebody who's there early. He wrote exclusively for the Bulwark, basically pleading, frankly, in a kind way with Joe Biden to like stop trying to defend his legacy. It's not helping. And that he's not saying he should just go away, which is what I think. But Steve is saying that he should, meet with union guys and go to foreign, to places around the world where he had, where there was some policy that he cared about, the USAID used to do. Like, go just do stuff that shows that he cares about people rather than a media tour that shows that he cares about his legacy. I thought it was a very smart piece of advice. I hope the former president takes it. But I just want to kind of an open opportunity for you to weigh in on that piece or anything else about the Biden and the Tapper book or any related issue.
I'm glad Steve wrote that for you guys. Steve's a friend of mine too. I worked with him on a story I wrote recently about these focus groups that Unite the Country is a super PAC he ran for Biden, not the main one, but they have some leftover funds, and Steve is very much interested in figuring out why not just places like Michigan and Pennsylvania flipped to Trump, but the states that he won with Obama, right? Like Florida, Iowa, Ohio, like especially with like the new census, like it's going to get harder and harder for Democrats to win the Electoral College. And so Steve is very interested in listening to people rather than a lot of people on Twitter who are just yelling at people. I hadn't thought of his. I agree that he shouldn't go on The View. I think Joe Biden. It's not just that like Democrats want him to go away. They don't want to see his face. Like any unpopular former president who just lost, go off into the sunset. But like, it's not helping him either. Right. Every time this happened when he was in the throes of being like dragged out of the race after, thanks to you, Tim. No, I'm just kidding. After the debate,
don't blame me. It's George Clooney.
He did that like NATO presser. And the first thing out of his mouth was he confused Putin and Zelensky. Like it just, and then he did like a tour de force or whatever, like the Biden people were saying. It's just, he's not good. He trailed off. He's never been a good communicator, even before the quote unquote decline. We've known that was the number one thing people thought about Joe Biden, right? They thought two things actually. Scranton Joe, compassionate guy. What was the Onion meme that he would like be working on his Trans Am in the White House driveway? Like that kind of went away. And then, but the other thing was like gaffes. Like he just talks too much, whatever. And then it got worse. So I hadn't thought about
thing. That was like goes back 20 years. And I watched your interview with him. You posted it because you're like, people are like, oh, the media didn't talk about this. The media talked about it. But you interviewed him, asked him about his age 5 years ago, I guess. And I went and watched that clip. And if you watch that clip, he just looks unbelievably better than he does now, which is just natural again. But that's just reality. You have to realize it. But even in that clip where he looked better, he still had some like he was still Biden. Like he was still stumbling over things sometimes.
Yeah. No, I agree. The thing that was interesting that Steve wrote that you mentioned is I hadn't thought about him, and he doesn't need to take the media along, right? Like go back to your roots, like maybe go hang out in some communities and talk to people and listen to people, or go find an issue you care about. But like going on The View or, BBC, like, I don't know. I don't get it.
All right, over to Gavin. So the past, the future, 2028. I just wrote down here, what is happening with Gavin? You've actually talked to him and got to spend some time with him lately. And I haven't.
I haven't talked to him. You talked to people around him, but I haven't spent time with him.
I thought you've talked.
But I live out here, so I see him every day.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot more Gavin than me, I guess. I saw this news item come across. It said, breaking news, Governor Gavin Newsom will call for California to scale back healthcare for undocumented immigrants to help balance its budget.
Yep.
And I'm for balanced budgets, so I don't know enough about the details of this proposal to weigh in on it one way or the other as a policy. And It is very notable, though, as a political move. Like, that is not a headline that Gavin Newsom's team would have wanted to be pushing out in 2019 or 2023, for that matter. You know, like, even if they were kind of doing that, they would try to shade it so that it was, you know, so it felt more, I don't know, humanitarian or whatever. And there's a series of issues. There's this, and then with the Charlie Kirk thing, he's pivoting on the trans sports. And so I don't know. I'm less interested in your view on because who cares? What all of our opinion is on each individual issue. But what is the politics? What's happening? Is he intentionally moving to the middle? Do you think, or is that overstating it? Or
no? I think it's interesting. I talked to our mutual friend James Carville about this the other day, and he was like, it's interesting, like, just macro level. You've got like Donald Trump moving left on certain issues, which you might disagree with, or at least taking up the former Democrats' former stronghold spaces ideologically. You know,
no,
working
I don't disagree
people,
with that.
whatever.
Donald Trump is extremely heterodox. It's like people to rash that in their head. Like, he's a fascist, but he also takes like random positions that are more left. Like,
right.
He does both. Yeah.
But then Carville was like, it's interesting that you have that. And then you also have Gavin Newsom moving to the right. And I think he kind of is. It's hard for him because he, one, represents California, two, has now taken positions that he's flip-flopping on as he moves back to the right. I think let's talk about Medi-Cal and then the trans thing. Those are two of the biggest when you think about what Newsom said recently. I think, by the way, I'm one of the few people that thinks the Gavin Newsom podcast was good. Rarely in media do you see a space where two people of completely different universes come together for a long form conversation. Doesn't happen. And like, the very fact that he was attacked by very online liberals for doing it, to me, means he's doing something right, because those people have been wrong way too many times. So like, I get that, whatever. I think he handled the Charlie Kirk thing a little poorly, but like, go back, watch the Bannon interview. I thought it was pretty good. What he's doing is, and
he has fallen below me in the ratings, I'll say. He was beating me for a little while, but he's fallen below.
So basically what's happening out here in California, Tim, is we're looking up on a big budget shortfall out here. And so Newsom is basically saying that he's going to freeze enrollments for immigrants without legal status. And basically it's going to save the state, in his words, like $5 billion. There's like, he started this program in 2023. So, you know, people illegal immigrants who are already enrolled in Medi-Cal get to keep it, but he's going to cap enrollment for new ones and make them pay premiums. And so this isn't like Keir Starmer in the UK. I sent this to you the other day, basically saying you got to speak English before you can come to the UK, which is like a big immigration move and a big pivot from a neoliberal party.
Well, the United Kingdom's different than the United States, but
yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. We obviously have many Spanish-speaking people here, a lot, soon to be the majority probably in this country.
And we're not a blood and soiled country with a fucking king and queen. I mean, even the libs there are happy with their monarchy. So, it's just a little different.
Okay. That's a good check.
No kings. No kings here in America. June 14th, protest.
But if you look, it's hard to look at that. And he's blaming the budget drop off on what he's calling the Trump slump. And he's sort of saying like the tariffs are impacting the budget, which is not now, like, basically he was saying like capital gains are going to be lower because the markets are down. It's like, that doesn't impact the current budget. Like, It's a little mealy mouth what he's doing, but it seems all under the umbrella of pivoting toward a more pragmatic approach to campaigning and governing and getting away from, Latinx and youth trans sports and like the things that are bad for Democrats on the culture front. The problem with Gavin is it seems, but this might work in his favor if he runs, but like it seems so obvious and transactional. So looked at one way, it's like obvious flip-flops, trying to shed the liberal California thing as he pivots to South Carolina and New Hampshire or whatever, Michigan. The flip side is Democrats need someone who will say any fucking thing to win, who will do anything to win, who like looks like a president. Like he's not like Mr. Retail. Like he can be a little awkward in person and with the media, and like he does those hand gestures. Like you watch his videos enough, it's like a little awkward and stilted. But he's willing to throw a punch and willing to do what it takes to win elections. And, that falls under the just win baby category of the James Carville philosophy.
I have a bold idea for him, though.
Yeah.
I just think that the best thing that he could do would be to govern better. And I think that a lot of this stuff's you're doing the podcast, and this could be totally wrong, by the way. I don't know, but that's just would be my advice is like the podcast thing, and we're doing these pivots, and it's like, I don't know, the other story I brought this up with Justin.
But can I just say something? Let me just say something, because I live here and I see more local news.
Yeah.
Everyone assumes California is dragged down by crime and homelessness, and it certainly would be a liability if you ran for president. But in LA, for example, you've got all these overlapping interests. We talked about this on the podcast I did with you about the fires. It's you've got the county and the city.
Just really quick on the fires, then you can go. This is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
7 new permits. They've done 7 new building permits so far in Altadena and Pacific Palisades and whatever the other one is. That seems not enough, And I do just wonder,
He's invested more in wildfire response and resilience than any previous California governor. They've passed gun laws. They've passed abortion protections. Yeah, it's California. But then there's other interesting things that he's done. For example, he passed a law where rappers could not be charged for crimes based on lyrics in their songs, right? This is with the Young Thug trial in Georgia. Fonnie Willis, the DA, one of the big parts of their case against him and Gunna was you said in your song that you capped that guy. And that is what we're using as evidence for that guy being capped. Newsom passed a law because it is a specious connection. Newsom passed a law blocking that. He capped tailpipe emissions in California. Every other state in the country follows what California does because we're the biggest auto consumer market. And so, put aside, electric cars, capping tailpipe emissions, basically implementing standards there is going to influence, carbon output for a long time to come. Not perfect, but the guy, because it is a one-party state, has passed so many interesting laws. Some might be too liberal, but I just do think he's a smart guy, and it would be silly to just reduce him to the California liberal. I think
forever. I was hoping you would give a liberal defense of California, Peter, and put me back in my former free market Republican box, and where I'm criticizing the mismanagement of your blue paradise. We're going long. It's fine. It's a Rogan podcast, but I got a few more things on the agenda here, so let's kind of keep it snappy for people. Do you think Kamala Harris is going to run for governor of your state? No?
Man. Can you hear? What was the Philippe Rines quote that he gave to the New York Times a long time ago? Can you hear me sighing? I think she. So here's the thing. I currently don't think she can win the presidency. She's run twice and lost. I don't think Democrats hate her, but I don't think they're passionate for her. Look at polls, national polls of Democrats. She's at 30%. People oh, she's the front runner. She's going to win. That means 70% of Democrats want someone else. That's what I see when I look at that poll. Because of the budget issues I just mentioned, being governor of California is going to be a shitty job for the next 4 to 8 years. And again, as we have learned with her over the years, she is a prosecutor. She's always better being running the office than being a consensus builder in a deliberative body, I think. Yeah. But she can win in California. And I think politicians generally need to think about what job do you want rather than what job do you think you should have. That seems to be a better approach to anyone in life. The wild card is not running for anything. Go to the Met Gala, start a think tank, but politicians aren't built that way. It's hard to step away. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. She's not a sure thing in California, by the way. It depends how deferential these other Democrats are. Does Katie Porter get out of the race if she gets in? Because, again, she's the universal name ID out here among Democrats. And, I've seen some polling that shows, again, not beloved. I don't know who would beat her, but I'm saying it could be closer than people think. But I think it's more gettable than the Democratic nomination and the presidency.
What
do you think?
I like Kamala. I genuinely
I like her too. But,
I like Kamala. I just and we're not friends, but as a friend, I would tell her to not run for president again. I think it would be very painful. So I don't. The governor's race.
Can you expand on that for the listeners?
I just think it would remind me of I'm trying to think of like a past campaign for like Fred Thompson's campaign, kind of, like somebody who
phony Fred.
You like your best day is your first day. Not really that dissimilar from Jeb's campaign, really. I mean, our campaign was kind of sad, but it was Jeb. But like it's a little different because she had already run for president, and it's just I think that I don't know. What about Dan Quayle's campaign for president? Like you've been vice president and then you finished 7th in the Iowa caucus. Like those are sad days, driving to Portsmouth, show up to an event with 13 people at it when you're in 6th place behind, Raphael Warnock and Pete and whoever else. I don't know, like whatever.
Well, if you think about
any new person that comes in.
Hillary before Trump, like different time, different era, but it's like Hillary ran the first time, had that slugfest with Obama, worked out well. She became Secretary of State, and then she was next in line. And and Shale writes in his Bulwark piece about how he encouraged Biden to run in 2016, whatever. But everyone was afraid to run against Hillary, despite the evidence being there that she was vulnerable.
I don't think people.
No one would be afraid to run against Kamala this time. Like no one. It's going to be a big field. Maybe Beto jumps in. Who knows?
Yeah, Gavin. I don't know. I don't think she should do it. You had on, I guess was it yesterday? I don't know. I'm losing track of days. Time's a flat circle. I had Andrew Egger, my colleague, on. We were talking about the porn bans. He had some harsh things to say about the Barstool Bros. This is another one of your beats, the manosphere. And I felt like you had we wanted to make some points contra Egger, who was lamenting that Democrats might need to, pander more to Theo Von podcast listeners. So I just wanted to hear what your counterpoint was.
Look, Andrew is a good reporter,
He's a sweet
and
boy.
I listen. It's sort of like the John Fetterman take, which I agreed with, which is that just the first step here is stop calling them bros. Like there's an air of condescension.
I call you bro. We're bro.
You are my bro.
Yeah.
You are my bro.
What should I call him? What am I supposed to call fucking Theo Von? He's not a bro.
I'm not talking about Theo Von. I'm talking about like a 22-year-old black guy in Cleveland who commutes to school and works 2 jobs, who voted for Donald Trump.
All right.
Like this is the thing. There's a category error in Washington, multiple, when they talk about the bro vote. Like again, this is me.
I just don't. This is where my Republican comes in. I don't like the lib view. It's too many times. My biggest complaint about listener feedback. It's like, Tim, you shouldn't say this word. You should say that word.
Okay, whatever. Put that aside. Put that aside. That's just my personal thing.
Right,
but here's the thing. Andrew and other reporters, what's that meme of the New York Times guy who was stroking his chin, interviewing Pete Buttigieg in the what was that guy?
What's that guy's name? Pete. He's the same guy that said that LSU shouldn't is shameful.
Yes, that guy.
The students the day off to celebrate the national championship when they won the national championship in football, and said that attacked institutes of higher learning.
Benjamin Applebaum. Benjamin Applebaum. Okay, so
not Benjamin Applebaum, not a bro.
Benjamin Applebaum, not a bro, but embodies this sort of journalistic type. New York Times is a perfect hub for these people where they haven't. This is not necessarily Andrew because he's been outside the beltway, but
Andrew is catching a fucking stray.
No. Sorry, Andrew.
Benjamin Applebaum.
Andrew said a phrase that it sucks that the smooth-brained Barstool Bros are the people that are going to determine politics for the coming elections, generations, whatever. That's such an oversimplification of young men in this country of all races, classes, and backgrounds. And some of this I'm stealing from John Della Volpe at Harvard, but there are different categories of young men. Yes, there are Barstool Bros who like Portnoy and like gambling on sports and like crypto and like the stock market. Great. But they're also progressive on social issues. They just want to hang out. Then there's over here, there's the Charlie Kirk people who are the MAGA red hats. Okay. And then over here are the kind of young men who like didn't go to college, white, black, Latino, who are working class. Maybe they go to community college. They don't think about politics at all.
Right.
You know, but they did last year think about the price of meat and think about the price of gas and think about the interest rate they were carrying on their credit card and thinking about healthcare. These are all people I met during my college tour last year that I texted you about all the time. So like there are all these different kinds of young men. The bigger picture, I think, is that, you know, Democrats haven't been welcoming to young men. They just haven't since the Obama years. Like think about the institutions in our culture, Tim, that are say, look at a young man and say, hey, come on in, let's hang out. It's the Republican Party. It's churches. It's gaming and online communities. And it's sports. Yeah. And everywhere else, it's like, you know, you can't. The thing that I liked about the Pete Buttigieg interview on Andrew Schultz, it wasn't just that he like went in there and did a 10-minute interview. And this, in fairness, like I think men can do this, and it would be impossible for a woman to go on Andrew Schultz and do the same thing. And that doesn't say anything about women. They're just different spaces and different kinds of people. But like he hung out.
Finer point on this. The Andrew Schultz, it is specifically branded as like the man cave. Like that's what it is. Like this
exactly.
is a place
it's
where
a hang
guys
spot.
Can go and talk about guys stuff. And so that's why it's not. That is why it would be more challenging for a woman to go into that, because that is like what the like that's the whole conceit, you know, of the show.
Yeah, and that was the point of my piece was that's a place where people. And Shane Gillis's podcast is the same way. Like no one thinks Shane Gillis is like going to Trump rallies and like rooting for deportations. He's just a dude who likes to hang out and talk about like sports and farts and girls and history and like for 3 hours. Yeah. And like there's not a lot of Democrats who can go hang out for 3 hours. And Andrew Schultz, by the way, like I know you did like don't like him, but like I watched that Pete thing twice through, and him and his co-hosts all asked very reasonable, thoughtful questions about the world and the Democratic Party. And everyone just sort of sneers at these people like Benjamin Applebaum at the New York Times, like stroking his chin, like, oh, wow, interesting. Like people need to like stop thinking about young men like they're going on safari in Africa and like interviewing different people and like taking pictures of them and pointing at them. Like go spend time, not in like the diners, dude. Like go to fucking Colorado, go to Cincinnati, like go to fucking New Orleans, like talk to people.
I agree with this. I don't know. I agree with. I don't agree with one part, which is I do think that like for some reason, like young men and MAGAs are like the only people that get to be fragile anymore. It's just like
you know what
Tim Schultz, I'm sneering at him. But if Andrew Schultz spends the whole pod making fun of fucking trans people, and it's like whatever. You know, it's like, okay, the biggest sneering. They can take shit. They give shit. They can take shit. I guess that's my only place I disagree.
Here's something Democrats need to grapple with. Yeah. The biggest demographic outlier in American politics isn't young men. It's not Trump people. It's young Gen Z women who are so far to the left. Steve Kornacki did a whole thing about this the other last month. They are so far to the left and away from the median voter that they're the outliers. Young men are way closer to the median voter on public opinion, on approval rating about Donald Trump, on various issues. Like there's Gen Z men, Gen Z women, like millennial men, millennial women, Gen X, whatever. Like young women are over here and like young men are like here. Like Democrats, the challenge for them is they've got to appease these folks in Greenpoint while also pulling back these people in Raleigh who like think these people are too liberal. And like, it's just really fucking hard right now, but we need to acknowledge that like the problem isn't just like young men, like young women who live on the internet are.
I agree with that. I just don't want them to be such fucking snowflakes. Like I can make fun of them and have it not be like,
well, no, but I did agree with your point. Like
sneering. Who sneers more than fucking Andrew Schultz and Shane Gillis' whole shtick is sneering at people. Like that's fine. That's okay. It's just like, but he can't be sneered at.
I think he sneers less. I think he sneers less.
He sneers. It's just in his own way.
But even Barstool, like people think like Barstool is a bunch of like Republican fascists. Like, have you listened to a Barstool podcast?
No, it's not. Well, so this is my point. This is the point where I agree with you. I'm just like, we don't have to be so gentle with them. But like, part of the problem is that who's staffing the Democratic campaign? So there's a lot of the young women who are very far to the left and a lot of gays. Like, let's just be honest. Like, that's just who's on the staff. And so like, it would be helpful for the Democrats to have staff that are more closer to the median voter.
I know that you have these same conversations, but when I met you in 2011, like if I 2010 maybe, if I like went to Ted Strickland's campaign in Ohio, back when Ohio was competitive, and hung out with like Liz and like her staff. Lily was on that staff too. Yeah. There were straight guys who could talk about sports and hang out. And like, that's not like essential, but I see so many, and I hear this from staffers, men, gay men, straight men, women. Like, I've seen campaign offices for Democrats running for office now. House, Senate, Gov. It is women and gay men.
Yeah, they're super
and
diverse.
Like that's the base of the party. And like, they aren't there's two problems here. One, if you're a comm staffer, you want to impress your boss. And what does your boss do? Your boss watches MSNBC. So you go on MSNBC. Two, like, if you do listen to podcasts in different spaces, like Andrew, like, here's the one, Cumtown. Democrats should definitely go on Cumtown, like with Stav. But like, imagine going up to like, Ron Wyden and being like, Senator, we booked you on Cumtown.
Alyssa, I booked you for 90 minutes on Cumtown. Okay, we're going to have a couple of topics.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is like Hassan, who lives out here in LA, is a weightlifting bro like me. He can, we'll see who can who can deadlift more. Probably him. I think I can bench more. But he's a leftist, and so he is good in these spaces. But you put Alyssa Slotkin's never going to go on there and talk about Israel. Not that she needs to, but like even Stabby, like, he's more of a Bernie bro than establishment Democrat. At the same time, he's a really good and funny messenger against Donald Trump, but he also hosted a podcast called Cumtown. So it's hard for the straight-laced nerds who staff Democratic campaigns and don't play fantasy football to like get their bosses into these spaces.
Alyssa Slotkin, we'll see you on Cumtown. Okay, this is like so long, everyone's going to freak out when they see the link. But me and Peter haven't got to hang out. We used to live in the same state. We don't get to hang out. So this is where we're hanging out. I have 3 more topics. We have a maximum of 4 minutes on each topic. Maximum of 4 minutes. Okay, behave. I want you to listen to. I told you had to do dystopia. I was flipping through TikTok, and Gary V, who's somebody you like to comment on, who's a tech influencer, was commenting on the future of AI, and I was like, I need Peter to listen to this, and so I'm surprised.
I need Scott Conroy here to listen to this with us.
Predictions
that your grandkids will marry an AI human.
What's your conviction level on that?
100%.
That they're going to marry an AI.
Your grandchild is going to marry an AI human.
So this is what we've been talking about. I think people are going to have relationships fully AI, boyfriend, girlfriends. I think it's going to be indistinguishable.
I believe a robot that is fully AI will marry a human and vice versa for real in your lifetime at scale.
And when you say an AI, does that mean like a physical body of a robot? So you're saying that the bodies will get so good that it will look like you and like I don't
know if you know this, but people have sex.
What? Jack does.
Then the physical part happens.
So what is this going to do to society if we're all just with...
Like, I've been thinking about that a lot, which is like, does a couple introduce, just like real couples introduce swinging and another partner now, is it even better to introduce an AI robot that may help whatever or emotional things are going on in that relationship to become an offsetting contributor?
Okay. Oh, no. We're going to have AI thruples. Enough, Jason, enough. Are you sure you want to have a child, Peter? This is what is happening. This is the future. Your child's child will marry an AI.
So Gary's, I don't agree with him that this will happen at scale, but you can obviously see some nerd, like, or some person who's online a lot. We already see this. There's a show on Hulu that FX did called Social Studies that I'm watching, and I should not be watching it before having a daughter. And it's a window into the lives of teenagers in Los Angeles and their digital lives. Like, we are already in relationships with robots, and the younger generation is too. And there are apps that will create like AI girlfriends and boyfriends based on AI, like that movie Her. That exists right now. It exists. People are in relationships. People have written about this. If you make that into some kind of anthropomorphic figure, I can see a lonely person like doing that. Marrying, I don't know if our states are going to be passing laws allowing that. I mean, Gary's wrong about marriage. It's going to be in the eye of the beholder, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not. By the way, I think he will say anything and do anything. He's the hustle bro king, Gary. But like, it's not out of the realm of possibility in our lifetime.
This is the anti-human movement. I played that because it was funny, but I saw another clip. So for some reason, I'm in the Chinese think I'm interested in TikTok, AI futurism. I guess I kind of am, which is why the Chinese think that, because they know me. But like Sam Altman was doing a thing about how the 18-year-olds are using the ChatGPT not at all like you and me. Like it's not like a Google substitute. They're using it like as a life coach.
Yeah.
And like, so the AI is just like, they're asking the AI, hey, what should I do today? I have this problem with my girlfriend. What do you think? I have this. Like, this is deeply alarming to me. Humans should go meet other humans. Like, and I agree. They should find friends to confide in. And I'm really concerned about this. Okay. So like, I know we have 2 minutes left here, but like Snap, we have My AI, which is a chat bot I
inside
created
Snap
one for myself.
Yeah. And so like,
just for jokes.
You can get what concerts are in New Orleans right now. What's a good gift idea for my friend?
That's Google. That's Google.
Well, no, it's a kind of, yes, but it doesn't have. Like, we have controls where it's not like you're going to have a relationship.
The way that you're conceiving that is like it's a replacement for a search. Like, give me a piece of information, help me find something. That is different than like, I'm feeling sad today. Will you be there for me? And
Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg want that world where you have fake friends that they can monetize because they put some like brand logo on their girlfriend's like digital shirt. It's gross.
It's very concerning. It's an anti-human movement, and I'm very annoyed about it. Okay. Agreed. Final 2 items. This is so important. If anybody made it to this, they're about to get the treat of a lifetime. I think that you should quit both your jobs and go full-time as an RFK impersonator, because your RFK impersonation is the best on the marketplace, and I just want you to give people a little taste. We're going to do it. I want a straight minute. We'll put it up on TikTok, and if it goes as viral as I think it will, you might have a new career. Let's see it.
I got my collection of buttons back here. I'll put on my Bobby. This is not RFK Jr. This is
Bobby Senior.
Kennedy pen.
Yeah, okay. Bobby, what's been happening today in Venice?
Well, Tim, I went to the Gold's Gym, and because I hurt my shoulder pressing years ago, I injected myself with raw milk and beehive dust that I collected with a space-age vacuum that I imported from Malaysia. A friend of mine who is an old bear hunter friend recommended. And I was at the Gold's Gym squatting, and I got to get back to DC. I actually shouldn't be talking to you, Tim.
You shouldn't be talking to me. Are you going to be in trouble with Mr. Trump for coming on the podcast?
Was that good or bad?
That was really quite good at the beehive pollen.
I also got a Rocky button back here. I got a majority for a silent Agnew button. I got lots of vintage pins.
I don't know. Agnew was kind of the what's the fucking phrase? The canary in the coal mine. Agnew was a little bit of the canary in the coal mine. All right, final thing. It's not a question for you. You're done. Have I given you my new parent advice? You're gonna be a parent any day now. Have I given you a
shocked you haven't?
I haven't, right? There are 4 things maybe that they're all practical. Number 1, on that bookshelf, do you have any books back there about how to parent or like what to expect by week 6?
We got lots of that.
Throw them all in the fucking trash. They're horrible. Okay. You are a human with good EQ. You will know what your child wants unless they have a very serious problem. Then you should get a book. But if it's a child with just a regular crying a lot or whatever, we underfed our child for like the first 3 days of her life because I was reading some book that's like, you get this many ounces of milk a day is what a kid wants. I asked the nurse, I was like, why is she crying so much? And the nurse is like, well, she's hungry still. I'm like, oh, it's like, if the child is crying, they're hungry. And so you should feed them. That's pretty simple. You don't need a book for that. And so the book actually is harmful. Throw the books away. Don't read them. Number 2, do not purchase, if you have already, do not purchase any more blankets. Everyone sends you blankets. I have no idea why. It's the favorite gift everyone sends. If you're a gift giver, and I have a friend having a first child, don't send them a blanket because we ended up with so many. I still have them. I use them now to like clean up spills around the house, children's blankets. Number 3, the thing that nobody tells you is from like age 3 months to like 10 months, it is an amazing time to travel with a baby. Nobody tells you this.
I remember.
Nobody tells you this. But it's like the baby sleeps all the time. If they're crying, you can feed them. you can keep them up late at night because they have the weird hours, right? So you can like go out to a late dinner with the baby and just put it in the little bassinet next to you at the resort that you're at or at the city in New York. And we went on some vacations in Tulsi.
Yeah, we went to Slow with T. Yeah, I remember.
Come out to the bar late at night.
Yeah,
around 10 months or 11 months through like 2 years, it's very challenging because the kid cries on the plane and you can't. It's hard to calm them down because they don't have words yet. You know, the period between baby and giving them an iPad is very challenging to fly. So you should maximize your trips in that first year. And what I noticed from a lot of new parents is they're like, okay, I'm getting my fucking sea legs. And we do our first trip 9 months in. And it's like, no, wrong. Immediately go on vacations. Start planning your vacations now.
So sorry, go ahead.
I had a fourth piece of advice, but I forget what it is. Love that child, I guess, is that. Just love that fucking little girl. That's all. Just love her. She'll be great.
All right, so we're looking at
be a great dad. Peter,
then
do you have anything else for me?
Thank you. I'll tell Kate. Make sure she listens to this too. We'll bump you up to number 33 in the YouTube rankings. We'll take the baby to Arkansas LSU November 15th, maybe. Texas A&M
LSU November 15th. That sounds great. We'll see you down here. Go Tigers. Go Nuggets. That's Peter Hamby. Check out his podcast on Puck or his Snapchat show on Snapchat. And everybody else, we'll be back here Monday. It'll be Bill Crystal. It'll be a shorter show. There'll be more references to Greek and Roman philosophers. So you'll enjoy that. We'll see you all then. Peace.